All right, today we're digging into something pretty interesting from the world of e-hailing. It's called the Designated Employer Model. And we actually got our hands on a driver onboarding document, and we're going to break down exactly how it works, from how you get paid to what the career path looks like. Let's jump right in. So, take a look. For some, this is what the future of driving for a living could look like. The document we're about to go through lays out a partnership that completely rethinks the whole relationship between a driver and the company. It's a really different way of thinking about this kind of work.
Okay, so first things first, and this is a big one. You're not considered an employee. Instead, the document calls you a revenue partner.
So what on earth is a revenue partner? Well, to put it simply, forget a fixed wage. Your income is a straight-up percentage of the money the car brings in. The whole idea is to tie your success directly to the company's success. It's a system built on shared risk and, hopefully, shared reward. Now for Section 2, the core numbers. Let's get into the part everyone really wants to know about, how the money is actually divided up.
Right, so a customer pays for a ride. Where does that money go? How does it get split between you and the company? Let's follow the cash.
On the surface, the split seems pretty clear. 30% for the driver, the operator, and 70% for the company. But, and this is a huge but, it is not that simple. There's a massive catch hidden in the fine print that completely changes how this all works.
Okay, let's get right into that fine print. That 70-30 split isn't based on the total fare that the customer pays. And this next detail, it's probably the most important part of the entire agreement.
And here it is. The split happens after operational costs are deducted. This changes absolutely everything. We're not talking about splitting the total revenue here. We're talking about splitting the profit. That means a whole list of costs get paid before anyone sees a single dime.
The first round of deductions are what they call direct costs. According to the document, these are all paid for before the revenue gets split. This includes the big stuff, like the commission that goes straight to Uber or Bolt, and the daily cost of fuel. But it also includes your airtime and data for the app, and even keeping the car clean. Things like punctures and topping up fluids, yeah, those fall on this side of the ledger too.
So what is that big 70% share for the company meant to cover? Well, that goes toward all the indirect business costs needed to run the whole fleet. We're talking about vehicle financing and insurance, office admin fees, outsourced services like HR and payroll, security systems, and driver training. This gives you a really clear picture of all the business overhead the company is handling.
So we followed the money. Now let's look at the people behind the whole operation. Because this model isn't just about a driver in a car, there's an entire support structure.
The document actually outlines a pretty clear labor hierarchy. You have what it calls direct labor. That includes the operator, who is the driver, and they report to an operations manager. And then there's indirect labor, like admin and office staff, who support the entire fleet. It really shows this is a fully managed system.
All right, Section 5, the waiting game. Let's talk about a detail that is critical for any driver out there. When does the money actually hit your account? So your first paycheck doesn't show up after your first week. You have to work for 4 full weeks, and then there's an extra week for payroll processing. This means you won't get paid until after your 5th week on the job. The document says this buffer is to help you settle in and build a reserve for potential costs, like traffic fines. Now, once you get past that initial 5-week delay, the payment schedule does settle into a more regular rhythm. The pay cycle becomes every 2 weeks or every second fortnight, and your payday always lands on a Friday.
Okay, the final section covers the long-term view. The document actually lays out a clear career path, one that can move a driver from probation all the way to a permanent role.
So here's what that path looks like. It starts with a 6-week probation period. If that goes well, you move on to a contract that lasts for up to 3 months. After you successfully finish that, you then become eligible for a permanent role in the company.
So what's the big deal about becoming permanent? Well, the document states that it makes you eligible for more incentives and long-term growth opportunities. It's really positioned as the ultimate goal for every driver who signs on. So when you step back and look at it all, what is this designated employer model really? Is it a modern entrepreneurial partnership that gives drivers a genuine stake in the business? Or is it just a more complex version of a wage, one that shifts a lot more of the risk onto the driver? The document lays out all the terms, but the real answer, that probably depends entirely on the numbers at the end of each week and what the road ahead really holds for those behind the wheel.